Hey there, and welcome to today's Explainer. So, today we are diving into a story that honestly completely masquerades as your standard sci-fi adventure, but man, it hides something so much deeper. We're breaking down the mechanics and the pure psychology behind the film Predestination. Now, if you're thinking, oh, it's just another time travel movie, absolutely think again. It's actually arguably one of the darkest, most brilliant psychological stories ever put to film, just brilliantly disguised as a sci-fi thriller. We're going to look at exactly how it takes those complex mechanics, the time jumps, the crazy paradoxes, and uses them to reveal a deeply unsettling truth about human nature and really the boundaries of our own minds.
Because right underneath all those wild paradoxes and the mind-bending plot twists, the entire film is essentially built to ask you this one terrifyingly fundamental question. What if you can never escape yourself? Like if you strip away the time machines and all the cool futuristic settings, you're just left with this raw psychological dilemma. The idea of literally not being able to outrun your own shadow is deeply chilling. Just imagine waking up every day, shedding your old life, moving across the world, completely starting fresh, only to slowly realize at the very core of your misery, your flaws, your internal conflicts, well, they packed their bags and came right along with you. It's a question that hooks us right from the jump because it speaks to a very real, very human fear, the fear of being permanently trapped by our own nature.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the time travel illusion.
Most time travel stories we consume, they're really all about ultimate empowerment, right? They're built around this super optimistic, almost heroic view of rewriting history. Think about the classic tropes we all know. Going back in time to invent the very machine you're using, stopping some huge catastrophic event, or finally taking out that infamous villain before they can rise to power. It's all about changing the future and fixing past mistakes to literally save the world. But predestination? Yeah, it takes that trope and completely twists the knife. It becomes something much, much darker. Instead of changing things, the character just keeps moving back and forth through time only to discover that every single path, every desperate choice to alter destiny, it all just leads right back to themselves. The loops just repeat. The self-conflict repeats. There's no rewriting history here because, well, the history is them. The time machine doesn't offer an exit door. It just gives them a mirror.
And so the absolutely crucial point is this. The prison isn't time, it's identity. I really want you to take a second and just let that sink in. Think about the utter claustrophobia of that realization. You are handed the ultimate key to the universe, the ability to go literally anywhere, any when, and yet you are completely caged. This is a remarkably rare angle for this kind of story. The real trap for the protagonist isn't a malfunctioning sci-fi gadget or some rogue villain messing with the timeline. The trap is their own inescapable self. The boundaries of their cage aren't made of ticking clocks or warping space. They are forged entirely out of their own unresolved psychological baggage. Wherever they go, well, there they are.
Moving on to Section 2, the myth of transformation. So there is this dangerous yet incredibly comforting fantasy that I think we all secretly hold. And it goes something like this. Some future version of me will finally become complete. This narrative feels so deeply disturbing to watch because it just absolutely destroys that fantasy. We love to imagine that one day, maybe 5 or 10 years down the line, some smarter, more evolved, future version of ourselves is going to magically ride in on a white horse and fix all of our current flaws. So what do? We procrastinate on our personal growth because we think the future will just naturally sort of complete us. We just assume that time alone is a catalyst for maturity and resolution.
But the film shatters that illusion completely by highlighting the biggest psychological lie we tell ourselves about how change actually works. We are constantly chasing false external fixes. We think, oh, if I just move to a new city, everything's going to be different. Or we convince ourselves that, finding a new relationship or setting brand new career goals is somehow going to permanently transform who we are on the inside. Imagine packing up your apartment, moving 1,000 miles away to get a fresh start, only to wake up 3 months later feeling the exact same lingering emptiness or anxiety. It's the classic trap of thinking a change of scenery somehow equals a change of self. And in the film, time travel is essentially the ultimate change of scenery, and it proves entirely useless.
Because the reality is an unresolved identity keeps recreating the exact same emotional loops. Unless something fundamentally changes internally, those external shifts, they mean absolutely nothing. That is what predestination symbolizes in such a literal, visceral way. You just end up bringing your unresolved, wounded self right into that brand new city, into that promising new relationship, into those ambitious new goals. Without genuine inner transformation, your patterns and your self-conflicts are just going to infinitely repeat. You're basically going to keep orchestrating the exact same failures and heartbreaks, just with a new cast of background characters.
Which brings us to Section 3, the tragedy of loneliness.
The tragedy in this story isn't just about, destiny or fate. It is a really profound exploration of absolute loneliness. Just consider how the narrative subverts the standard progression of a human life. The character literally becomes their own beginning, their own connection, and ultimately their own ending. It is a terrifyingly closed loop of existence. They are entirely isolated within their own timeline, forced into a reality where they interact, intimately and existentially, only with themselves. It perfectly illustrates the absolute horror of an identity collapsing inward. There's no outside input, no fresh perspectives, and absolutely no external validation to anchor it to reality. And that isolation is horrifying precisely because of what it denies us. Humans desperately need shared meaning to survive. We absolutely need an external perspective to ground us, to tell us when we're acting crazy, or to validate us when we're right. We fundamentally require genuine connection with other people. Without those external forces, without the friction and the warmth of others, our identity just starts collapsing inward on itself, kind of like a dying star. The movie uses its sci-fi mechanics to create this literal physical version of a psychological collapse. It shows us exactly what happens when a person is entirely deprived of genuine connection outside the echoes of their own mind. I mean, they literally go mad trying to fulfill every single role for themselves.
Let's look at Section 4, Breaking Invisible Emotional Loops.
Now, bringing this back to reality, a staggering number of people, and honestly, maybe even you or someone you're super close to, are trapped in their own invisible loops. People frequently find themselves caught in the exact same types of toxic relationships over and over again, totally bewildered as to why they keep attracting the exact same type of partner. They are paralyzed by the exact same fears and insecurities year after year. They play out the same self-sabotaging emotional patterns, perhaps blowing up a successful career opportunity right when things start going well, or pushing away someone they love because of some unhealed wound. And the real kicker here? It's not because a futuristic time machine is controlling their destiny. It's simply because they are stuck in cycles they just haven't recognized yet.
And this brings us right to a crucial psychological concept: unconscious repetition. Basically, this is the cycle of repeating past emotional patterns, specifically because one hasn't yet become aware of them. We literally act out our unremembered past, and this is what predestination is truly warning us about. It's not some cautionary tale about the theoretical dangers of quantum physics. It is a glaring, urgent warning about unconscious repetition in our own daily lives. And yeah, recognizing this pattern is incredibly painful. It requires actually admitting that you are the common denominator in your own recurring problems. But listen, the only way to break the loop, the only way to finally stop the cycle, is to become consciously aware of it. You absolutely have to recognize the pattern before you can ever hope to change the path.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. The scariest prison might not be the past at all. It might just be becoming trapped inside the exact same version of yourself, forever. So as we wrap up today's explainer, I really want to challenge you to look in the mirror. Question your own cycles. What repeating patterns are currently holding you back? Seek that genuine self-awareness you need to finally break free from your own loops. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible concept today. Have a great one, and keep asking the hard questions.